years, Mike Kelly was the voice of the longest-running real estate talk show in the North Bay, The Real Estate Hour. The legacy continues with Allison Norman and her business partner, Stephanie Norman, the newest mother-daughter real estate team. Now, here are Allison and Stephanie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday morning. We are going to have a full show today, and we're going to be talking with CalFire. We've got CalFire in the house.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! That wasn't very exciting, but yeah, we've got CalFire in the house. We're going to be talking about, as we talk about, often about fire season, defensible space, fire hardening, and better, you hear it from us all the time. It's great to hear it from the professionals who really can tell it better than we can any day of the week. So we've actually got Division Chief, Mike Wink, Division Chief, Pre-Fire, Sonoma Lake Napa of CalFire, and Mike Wink. Thank you so much for...
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you for coming in, and then we're going to be also talking about AB 38, which is an ordinance assembly bill, having to do with pre-sale inspections, and then also, if you're selling real estate or buying real estate, this is going to come up if you're in a high fire area. And CalFire goes out and does these routine inspections. So we're going to touch on that as well. We're going to talk about defensible space. We're going to talk about fire hardening, and just kind of general fire safety and, evacuation strategies.
Absolutely.
Maybe if you have some. All of us, well, I don't know if all of us, but a lot of people lived through the Tubbs fire and all of that fire complex that we had back in 2017 and really got a whole new understanding of what it means to evacuate from a fire. And I know Stephanie and I live over in Northwest Santa Rosa, just north of Coffee Park or south of Coffee Park. And the evacuation and getting out of there and the streets backing up, my son ended up having to just park his truck and walk because it was gridlock getting out of there. So I think, and you hear it all the time and we see it on the news, and I know you know what I'm talking about, Mike, is just, people not really being prepared and not understanding, and especially when those areas where there's only one way in and one way out, so... not necessarily the Coffee Park area, but sometimes when people are, we're looking at different neighborhoods that people are buying, if we're going to put a real estate spin on this, is that they just, you're looking and it's like, okay, how am I going to get out if there's a fire? And a lot of times there's only one way out, right?
Yeah, sure.
So being prepared and understanding how to get out quickly and when to get out and all that. So we'll talk about that. But really, a lot of it has to do with being ready ahead of time to how to keep your house safe. And that's where defensible space and fire hardening really comes in. Before we dive into that, we're just going to give you our quick update on the market, and then we'll dive into the rest of the show being all about CalFire and defensible space and all of those things. Also just wanted to mention the hot air balloon is happening. Hot air balloon thing. Michelle Marquez is there. I guess they couldn't lift off, I don't think today or yesterday because of the heavy fog cover. But don't let that dissuade you, because they did, they are still there. They're, filling up the balloons and letting people come out on the field and check it out. And it's really a cool experience. So that's over at the fairgrounds. And then we were at Relay for Life yesterday, and that's just wrapping up this morning.
Yeah.
So that if you ever make it, if you see any advertising or anything about a Relay for Life, it's American Cancer Society. It's a really good, kind of heartwarming, feel-good event.
And it's a free event.
Free event. There's things you can buy. There's things you can donate. You can go out and walk around the lap, or you can just hang out.
And it's all for American Cancer Society for cancer. I don't know what it. I think
it's cancer research, cancer, everything they do.
All the things cancer related, and it's very good.
Yeah, American Cancer Society is a great organization that does lots of good. So get out there and support. If you see, there was one here in Santa Rosa as well, just finishing up today. Anyway, so that's kind of what's happening right now in Sonoma County. But let's just dive in real quick to give you the market numbers because I don't want to take too much time away from CalFire, but I know people tune in also to listen to that. So let's talk about the numbers real quick. What happened in real estate? Currently active on the market. It feels like a million listing. No, there's 1,141 active single-family homes. Again, that number is it's up, but it's kind of settled in. It's actually down a little from the last week. And it's kind of fluctuating up and down. The good news is there are buyers out there buying. We are at 346 in escrow, which is pretty consistent with what it's been. Mm-hmm. So even though we have more inventory, we still have kind of the same number of buyers out there buying the homes. The good news if you're a buyer is you have more to pick from. Bad news if you're a seller is that you really need to make your house shine and stand out above the crowd. So I'm talking to inspectors this last couple of weeks, and what they're doing a lot of pre-sale inspections, pre-list inspections, and they're seeing that sellers are doing a lot more work updating and fixing those things before they put it on the market. And that's kind of indicative of how the market is when we have more listings. And anyway, so we're seeing that, we're feeling it, but in no way are we kind of in danger of it being a market crash or prices going down or anything like that. Condos, we have 152 active condos with 52 in escrow. Mobile homes, we have 89 active with 41 in escrow. Multi-unit, 2 to 4 units, there's 100 active with 26 in escrow. And land, we're up to 321. That number keeps going up. So 321 active buildable lots and land here in Sonoma County. If you're thinking about building a house, it's a really great opportunity to get in there. You just, there's a lot of red tape with the county, and that kind of restricts, a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to do that. And then land also, talking about fire, when you get out there in the country, there's the issue with insurance and all of that. So, land is a tough sell sometimes, but it's great if you can get in there and build your own house. So there's Definitely. 25 in escrow. There's a big difference between what's active in escrow. Stephanie has a quick look at what happened this last week, and then we'll be done with the market.
Yeah, so snapshot from last Sunday to this Sunday, single-family residential for new listings, 152. Back on market, 11. The new listings, were a median list price of $867,000. We have price reductions, 103, in escrow, 86, pending, 60, closed, 92, with a median sold price of $854,000 with 60 days on the market.
Ooh, congratulations to everyone that bought or sold a home and into escrow. We actually put 2 into escrow this weekend, so that's exciting. One seller, one buyer, and we're off and running with that. So that's a look at the market right now. Let's take a quick break. We come back. It's going to be all about CalFire. We're in the thick of fire season, right? Mike, are we currently in fire season?
Yeah, well, we're definitely in summer, and so we're, fire season is a year-round
it is here
activity
in Sonoma County,
now here in California. We saw that with the activities and the fire activity in January, so we're definitely year-round, and yes, we are definitely in fire season here in July.
Yeah, so stay tuned because we've got some important information. And really, I think the big things are just defensible space and how to keep your house safe and keep it from being kind of that break in the fire.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So we'll talk more about that when we come back. We're here with Mike Wink, Division Chief, Pre-Fire, Sonoma Lake Napa for CalFire. And we are going to be right back. We'll take a quick break. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We're the Norman Hope Team, and you're listening to The Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back.
Now, back to the Real Estate Hour, hosted by Allison and Stephanie Norman. Now, here are Allison and Stephanie.
Good morning. We're back, and we are here in studio with CalFire in the house. Thank you so much for coming in. So, Division Chief, Pre-Fire, Sonoma Lake, Napa. I should have asked during the break.
The Sonoma Lake Napa Unit. So
Unit.
The CalFire within California is broken up into units by counties.
Right.
And so some units have 1 or 2 counties that they're geographically responsible for. Our geographical area covers 6 counties from the Pacific Ocean to I-5. So we cover 6 counties in this unit, and then every other unit is broken up geographically by county. So we're the Sonoma Lake Napa Solano Yolo Calusa unit of CalFire. So we cover 6 counties. So our real estate inspection team will cover those 6 counties.
Wow. Okay.
So in our pre-fire
busy.
division, that I get to that's one of the programs that I oversee.
Okay.
We also do our public information, our public education, our social media platforms. We have 2 state forests, our CEQA, our prescribed fire, our fire predictions, our fire modeling, and our fuel moisture program. That we also have in our pre-fire division, as well as our real estate inspections and our just regular defensible space inspections that we do in the 6 counties. That covers a little over 45,000 structures in the SRA.
Wow.
That we get to do as well.
So you're busy.
Yeah, we're certainly busy. And just before the break, we were talking about the real estate inspections and not only do I do it at work, but I also get to do it. My wife's a realtor, and so I get to do it at home as well. So I'm well versed in the topic of this of the AB 30, what we call the AB 38 inspections, but they're the real estate inspections. So it's definitely it started with the Assembly Bill. We call it the real estate inspections, but started in 2021 with the passage of that Assembly Bill that gave direction to CalFire to do these real estate inspections, so that the buyer of a property in the high or the very high fire hazard severity zone would know about a property's status, whether that property is what type of shape it's in, whether it essentially has any known deficiencies, so that the buyer knows what those deficiencies are, or whether it doesn't have any, whether it passes or doesn't pass, so to speak.
Right. And then from my memory of that bill, is if there is an inspection done and things are noted on it, the seller doesn't necessarily have to do it. That becomes kind of a negotiating point. But CalFire, you give them a certain amount of time for that to be corrected. Is that right?
It's really up to we provide the inspection and provide the guidance. It's an educational tool.
Yeah.
We provide it to the seller, and the seller obviously
gives it to the buyer.
The guidance is essentially they provide it to the buyer, and then, like you said, it's up to them to decide what they do with that.
Right. Okay.
And we're not involved in that part of the process. And as far as the timeline, it's ultimately up to them. They can call us back and request a reinspection, and we're happy to come back out and do that reinspection and relook at any of those things that we identified as needing improvement or deficient, and we're happy to then give an updated inspection so that they have documentation.
So right, so then it becomes it's just like the same, just to put it in context of a repair item that comes up on a pest
like
inspection
a property
or something like
property
that.
inspection reports, with your
so you're saying by the way, buyer, here's this information. We're not going to fix it, but we're going to give it to you, or maybe we are, and especially in this market, I think, where we're seeing more people on the selling side doing the work that needs to be done because they want to stand out in the crowd.
Like
you
talked about,
ready.
Like I said, especially in I hear it at home all the time about, like you said, people want to stand out. You do the pre-inspections, then you do the pre-work. Any rot on a trim or any pest or any type of things like that need to be taken care of, then they remediate that, and that way they have then the report saying that all that stuff's been remediated. Be the same type of thing could be done by the seller if they chose to.
Okay, so where, or is there a line that is like, okay, well, this is suggested, and then it goes back to this has to be done? Is there the defensible space? Is there a inspections that you do where you're requiring this work to be done? That's not the resale part, but just in general.
The required piece is really comes back to a lot of the local government ordinances, whether you're in a county that has a governance that maybe is more stringent and requires additional fines or things like that.
Okay.
But if you would live in an HOA, or whether you live in a county or within a fire district or something like that has more strict governances, we continue to use it as an educational tool and continue to do follow-up and encourage people to continue to make improvements and do that. It is required to do these things. Because we have over 45,000 structures to do, and we maybe turn it over to code enforcement within each county as the authority having jurisdiction. That would be our process to turn it over to somebody for additional follow-up. For that
and
type of
then
enforcement.
to the local fire departments versus CalFire. Yeah, because
that's pretty rare. Most folks are very receiving and appreciative of trying to, and people do continue to make improvements.
Yeah, we all.
Sometimes it's pretty overwhelming to do a massive amount of improvements all at once.
Yeah.
But as long as you're continuing to make progress, that's the most you can ask from people.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. And I think you're right. I think people appreciate having the information and knowing what they need to do. I know a couple of properties that we've sold in high fire areas, their insurance company is actually sending somebody out to also do kind of further. Here's what you can do to fix your house, and the fire hardening comes into place and all of that.
Right, and that's certainly been something we have experienced with property owners that they have shared with us that their property insurance providers have sent very similar folks out to their place that take pictures, and if they don't essentially meet the same requirements and take pictures, then they have shared with us that maybe they don't get a renewal or they don't get a policy or something like that.
Right.
So there is redundant types of things happening out there. So while we are providing the same type of inputs, there's parallel processes that are happening out there.
Yeah. Well, I think you can't have too much too much help and advice and information on how to keep your home safe from fire. And then not only are you keeping your own home safe, you're protecting the entire neighborhood from it continuing on, right? So, and that kind of brings in the whole defensible space part of it. And I know CalFire, you guys have a great website, and that Ready for Wildfire piece of it, which we talk about and give out often. It really provides. I'm a really visual person, so seeing the pictures and showing here's 5 feet out, here's what does it go, then 20 feet out, then 100 feet. Do you want to talk, Joe, how close, how much time do we have? Okay, so let's start the conversation. We might finish it after the break. But what exactly is defensible space? Because we throw that word around a lot. So what is it, and how does it work?
So it's a kind of a tiered system. We'll start with Zone 0 has been the talking point that's been in all of the news most recently, and that's the ember resistant zone or the fire resistant zone. A lot of different outlets use different terminology to describe the same thing, but that's that first 5 feet from your home to the first 5 feet out. You want to have nothing that's combustible is the goal. So that's no vegetation, no storage containers, no fencing, and that's definitely a transitional piece because there's a lot of wood fencing that is from your yard and transitions right to the house, but that acts as a fire wick as the fencing burns and then it gets to your house. And so that's going to take some time and creativity to figure out how you're going to transition that and change that mindset and to be like, well, how am I going to change something and make it look still
right,
appealing
and contain
stuff,
the dog and all of the things,
Keep
and
the
do
wild
all
animals
that.
out.
So how you're going to do all of those things. So that first 5 feet. And I'm going to have to re-landscape because I've got years of mature vegetation that we have manicured and taken care of. But that first 5 feet, they've really shown that ember resistant zone is so critical.
Yeah, isn't that like the bark, which everybody is like, oh, we'll just put bark in that little section. And I know they're saying, no, don't put bark right there. Do something different.
Yeah,
than bark.
the bark really needs to be replaced with some sort of fire resistant material. And the most common is some sort of rock or something, something like that.
I put crushed granite down in my, and it's that nice kind of desert scape.
Either some
with
sort
the
of non-combustible
succulents
material, and even succulents or fire like, oh well, I'll get my fire resistant bushes or go down to the nursery and I'll get what they say is fire resistant vegetation and stuff. Even that is not allowed in that 5 foot zone. So really nothing in that 5 foot zone of any combustible vegetation. So, and then that next, like you said, that next 25 feet, because it used to be 30 feet, right? This was the first zone 1.
Right.
So the first is 0 to 5 feet, and then from 5 feet to 35 to 30 feet, so it's another 25 feet. You have your fuel reduction zone. So you have as little as possible, and you want to have it manicured and no vegetation touching each other, no canopy touching each other, and then from that 30 feet to 700 feet out, so the next 70 feet, so that's your 100 feet zone. And readyforwildfire.org, like you said, they have great pictures and examples on how to do that spacing of vegetation and spacing of trees and bushes, and no canopies touching each other, no trees, branches above your house, nothing touching your house, nothing above your chimney, all that stuff.
Right. Good. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna we need to take a quick break for the news. And then when we come back, we'll kind of go a little further into that. But then the next piece of it is fire hardening. And so that's another step you can take to protect your home.
Absolutely.
Not just the area around it to keep fire away, but if the fire gets there, what are some things you can do, right? So,
you bet.
Okay, so we've got Mike Wink, Division Chief, Pre-Fire, Sonoma Lake Napa Unit, CalFire, in the house, and we're talking all about fire safety today with CalFire. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We're the Norman Home Team, and you're listening to the Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back after the news. Good morning. We're back. It is the Real Estate Hour. Good morning. Okay, so we're back with welcome back to Mike Wink, who's the Division Chief, Pre-Fire, Sonoma Lake Napa Unit of CalFire, and thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday
thank you so much.
Come chat with us.
Of course. Thanks for having us this morning.
Such an important topic. I wanted to just, I'm looking at something I printed up, and I wanted to make sure to mention it. There is a, coming up August 9th, animal prep for big and small is your animal emergency plan ready for wildfire season and other emergencies. This is hosted by the Halter Project. We've had her on before talking about all of this good stuff. They do a great job of helping people prepare for wildfire and evacuating your animals and all of that. You're probably familiar with her as well. Maybe not. The Halter Project. There's also some other ones. There's CART. There's that really kind of stepped up on the fires that we've had where horses were left behind and people were trying to figure out how to get rid of them and all that. So there's we'll talk more about that, but I wanted to just remind people coming up August 9th, the Halter Project. You can email rescue@halterfund.org to RSVP by August 7th. We'll chat about that more next week, but we're going to dive right back into our discussion about wildfire and defensible space. And Mike, we had if you're just tuning in, we had a good conversation. Kind of you laid out a good definition of defensible space. And my thought is, we've got so many properties here up in the hills and we've got these beautiful oak trees, and everyone loves all the greenery around their house, and that's a really hard sell when you're saying you got to cut all this back. but it's necessary if not required, and it is going to come up. And let me just also mention there's a natural hazard disclosure that you're, as a seller, you are required. Well, you're required to provide all of these different information and disclosures to your buyer. Rather than you going and doing all the research and putting all that information and going, yes, it's in a high fire area, yes, it's in a flood zone, yes, it's in a by a commercial area, all of that. There's a natural hazard disclosure that you order. It costs $99 or less usually. You pay for it at the end of escrow when you close escrow, and you are, as a seller, you have to give that to the buyer. In that, it does say if it's in a high fire area, very high fire area, or severity zone, or if it's not. And that's how you know whether you need that AB 38 inspection. And that sounds familiar to you since your wife is a realtor also, right? I know about the NHD. So it really has important information on it. So, but that's how you know. If you're saying, well, how do I know if I need to do this? Well, your realtor's going to let you know, for one. But you're going to pull up you're going to get this natural hazard disclosure, and it says, there's a little box they check. Yes, it's in a high fire area, or no, it's not, or high or very high. If it's high or very high, you have to fill out this AB 38 form, and there's questions you have to answer about home hardening and all of that stuff. And then, like we said at the beginning, then you hand that to the buyer, and they say, here's this information. If it is in a place where you have to get that inspection, CalFire is going to come out and do the inspection. Or if it's in the city, the city does that, I believe.
Yeah, and that's something we should probably take just a moment to share with the listeners, that earlier this year there was a new process to where they recognized areas within what was called the local response area. So things that weren't necessarily in the watershed, the state responsibility area. So things that were traditionally all CalFire, that were very high and high fire hazard severity areas that people were used to since 2021, that they would contact CalFire for their real estate inspection. But now there are areas that are high and very high in the LRA, sometimes in the county areas that aren't traditionally CalFire, and where they have to contact the local fire district to get that inspection out as well.
And LRA is local responsibility area. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a learning curve that the real estate industry is going through. But
like, who do we call?
But the folks are the industry does seem to be well educated and well informed. So kudos to the real estate professionals out there. We do get some phone calls, but the folks do seem to be, like I said, well educated and well informed, and go to the websites and are figuring out who to call and getting those inspections. And so that is something new as of earlier this year that is out there. And it's new for some of the sellers that maybe weren't aware that there's that change in that new piece of the process. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. And thanks. Yeah. There's a lot, National Association of Realtors, North Bay Association of Realtors, really, and there's other local organizations that really do kind of keep us educated on.
Yeah, and we deal with that in the 6 counties of the Sonoma Lake Napa Solano Yolo Colusa unit, and I could say that not only here in Sonoma County, but I can say that the other counties are also being very diligent and trying to share the same message with all their realtors as well.
Good,
it's the industry as a whole, I'd say, is doing pretty well.
Good. That's good. Yeah. Thanks. Good to know. And we say, there's a lot of great realtors out there. And I know in Lake County, which we cover once in a while, we'll go out to Lake County. There's the fire issue is even more there, I think. Because we've seen a lot more fires in the like in Hidden Valley area, or Hidden Valley Lake area, and was there just one? Yeah, clearly there was just something just recently. They've been small. There hasn't been any big ones lately.
Sure.
But I think as far as the insurance piece and all of that, they're really in the thick of it. It's like everywhere in Lake County there's an issue with insurance. Whereas in Sonoma County, there's the areas that we know you're going to have a hard time getting insurance, and we know that you're going to have to do the AB 38 and deal with the real estate inspection and all that. But well, that's good to hear from you, from your side, that you're seeing that the real estate community kind of understands. That we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
for the most
sure.
part.
Yeah,
the most part. Good. So let's move on from. So there's the defensible space, which you covered very well, and you get out to that 100-foot zone, and basically you're trying to keep the fire from getting to your house.
Right.
Right. Okay. And then moving on to the next house. So
Right.
there's that big circle around you that's a safety zone that keeps it away from the house. And then if it does get to the house, what is the fire hardening piece of that? Because we hear that thrown around a lot, but what does that actually mean?
So we'll talk a little bit about some home hardening components. So those are the things that you can look at your either new home construction, or we'll talk about existing homes, because new home construction is governed by the California Building Code and things with the WUI code, and
Right.
Those things are already governed by very well by the building department and all that stuff. So if you buy a new home, those things are already going to be in place. So let's talk
Right.
about existing homes
Right.
and home hardening. So those opportunities are the things that they look at are, say, the vents that are around the lower part of your home
Yeah.
that allow the air to go in and out and underneath
Right.
your home. So a lot of times those vents are maybe 1/4 inch in size, is pretty normal. So those are retrofitted with vents that are much smaller, 16th to 18th of an inch, or very small slits. So if you go to the local hardware store, they'll have either retrofit packages, or you can go to the website readyforwildfire.org, and you can look at the home hardening section, and it'll give recommendations where you can either do the retrofit yourself, you can hire someone, or you can go and buy those stuff. So there's all kinds of choices depending on what your comfort level is of the do-it-yourselfer, or whether you can you want to buy someone. So and you can go to the hardware store. So that's one piece. Elevated decks over the hillside, while they provide lovely views and those stuff. Those are Embercast likes to get underneath the decks, and that's a great way for a fire to get started underneath your deck. So they talk about enclosing decks with either with mesh, same type of thing like you do with your vents, and or enclose it with plywood, so that the embers don't have a chance to get underneath your decks. Same thing with the eaves. If you have the eaves, your roof extends beyond the exterior walls of your house, that normal 18 inches or something like that, and then you have the rafter tails sticking out. Well, all that the embers like to get up underneath there and get caught in there, and then they can start catching on fire.
They have the little vents up there. Is that so embers try to get in there?
Those vents also need to be retrofitted. Same thing as the ones lower. They can be retrofitted with smaller screens or different. If they're the round ones, they can have different round inserts put in that have smaller mesh. But even just the rafter tails themselves that come out, sometimes you can enclose those. That's a new feature you'll see in a lot of newer construction. Their rafters, they enclose those rafter ends, and so it's a more finished look, though you don't have all the rafters exposed, because those like to catch the embers. So that's a retrofit deal. Gutters, there's a lot of, sometimes people are going to more of a gutterless type of construction, and or a different type of gutter, or you just put gutter guards on now. You buy different types of gutters, or you put gutter guards or mesh material over the gutters, so that you don't get leaf material and combustible material down in your gutters. Then you get embers down in your gutters, and your gutters catch fire and then catch your house on fire.
That's the end of that.
Chimneys and there's all kinds of things as you go around the house. There's checklists and stuff. If you go to readyforwildfire.org, there's checklists on there, and you can, like I said, you can do it yourself. You can, and then there's all kinds of levels. You can do it yourself, do it with your neighbor, a family member, a handyman, all the way up to a contractor, all the way to just hire someone to do it.
I think
whatever you're most comfortable with.
There's some companies that actually do that.
Yep,
I mean, that's
you just hire somebody. They can come out. They can do the evaluation. They can give you an estimate. It's all up to the homeowner on what they prefer.
Okay. Yeah, so these are all
Absolutely.
just recommendations and good ideas. I know a couple of things that you mentioned, the lower vents and then the upper vents. Our home inspectors say open those up because it needs to breathe in there. You're going to get fungus under there. So there's got to be, I would imagine, an alternative if you're going to put those screens. Some way to make sure. So putting a vapor barrier down below and then maybe an attic fan, because that's probably the biggest reason somebody wouldn't put those guards there is because they've been told that it needs more venting underneath. So it's kind of finding that fine line. And
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you have a moisture issue or moisture concern under your house, and so maybe there is some sort of other mitigation that you're going to have to do, like additional venting.
So just be aware of that. If you're going to close up those vents to the point where members can't get in, are you doing some kind of alternative of venting it?
Absolutely.
Because our home inspectors all say, you got to let more air in there. But we say, but we're trying to keep the fire out.
Right.
So it's finding that fine line there. So, I think it's good. It's all good information, good advice. None of this is required, but as somebody being out in the field and seeing, probably have seen fires hop from a house to skip in one house and go into another house. Sometimes it's just by chance. Like I think in the Tubbs fire where the wind was so crazy and ridiculous that it would just completely miss one house and then hit the next door. But a lot of times it has to do with how the defensible space is, right?
Right. I mean, the defensible space is required. The home hardening is required for new construction.
Right. Okay.
And then for existing construction, it's additional educational component. But the defensible space is required.
It's a requirement. Okay.
But the enforcement component comes from the authorities having jurisdiction in the local
Got it. Thank you for
county
clarifying
and
that.
the fire
Okay.
districts and stuff like that.
So, and that's a good clarification. So I stand corrected. Yeah. It is required, but at the beginning of our conversation with the real estate, AB 38, that part of it, it is not required as the seller. It's a disclosure saying, hey, this is something that has to be taken care of. Either I'm going to do it or you're going to do it, and we can negotiate, between buyer and seller. If it doesn't get done,
just like a pest inspection or any of the other inspections for rot or mold or whatever it is, any deficiency with the home, that way the seller knows that it needs a roof or it has rotten trim or something like that, and they know that it is deficient or needs improvement or repair, and they know that when they purchase it,
and they know that if they don't fix it, somebody could come knocking on their door and say, hey, this needs to be done. And that's what's being disclosed.
Sure.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll wrap it up with talking about kind of preparing to evacuate and safely getting out of a fire. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We're the Norman Home Team. You're listening to the Real Estate Hour. We're here with CalFire, Mike Wink, who is the Division Chief Pre-Fire Sonoma Lake Napa Unit of CalFire, and we'll be right back.
The Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman.
Good morning. We're back. We're going to wrap up the show with we're here with CalFire, Mike Wink, Division Chief Pre-Fire Sonoma Napa. Sorry, I said that backwards. Sonoma. And there's even more to it, but Sonoma Lake Napa Unit of CalFire. And what's the whole division or the Calusa and Solano, and you throw it out there like you've said it a million times.
It's the Sonoma Lake Napa Solano Yolo Calusa Unit of CalFire. So it's the 6 counties that we cover geographically for this area of CalFire. So all of our leadership team and operational divisions cover those 6 counties in our geographical area.
Wow. Okay. And so you guys have a lot. Thankfully, you're not super busy right now. I mean, you're busy, but as far as putting fires out in California, how are things going with anything currently?
Yep. So far, we are in fire season, obviously, but things have been pretty calm, as you see here in Sonoma County. Things have been very small. You've seen, you've seen a little bit of activity here and there, but nothing serious. By this time last year, we'd had the Point Fire out by Lake Sonoma, is a couple thousand acres, but we've had nothing even close to that so far this year. We had a late spring. We haven't had a really hot summer so far. We haven't had multiple long duration hot periods.
Good.
So our fuel moistures, which we monitor regularly, we're watching those with we mostly watch the brush, and that's our biggest indicator of when our fuel moistures are going to be critical, which is when things are going to really start to burn. Those are still continuing to dry out, and that's indicative of the fire behavior we're seeing. We're still able to pick up fires and keep them small. You saw a fire a couple weeks ago down in the San Luis Obispo area that grew to pretty good size in a short duration, but that fire is now contained. We have some fires in the Six Rivers National Forest and in the Shasta Trinity National Forest in remote Northern California, in our U.S. Forest Service partner lands that you have responders from Sonoma County that are there and helping out, try to put those fires and contain those fires. That the smoke impacted the area about a week ago, sometimes just because of the weather. Sometimes that happens. But those are the most active fires in Northern California right now.
Okay.
And then we do have some responders in Southern Oregon. They had some lightning fires that were really close to the California border. So we have agreements in place. So sometimes we help each other out. Sometimes Oregon comes into California. And we are currently in Southern Oregon helping them with some of their fires. And those efforts are going well as well.
Good.
That's good,
all that is so far so good. But here locally, nothing serious, and we're continuing to watch those fuel moistures. But we do have everything staffed. We have all of our resources available. We continue to train and prepare and continue to stay mission ready.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for all you do,
Sure.
by the way. And that is such an important piece of it is the defensible space and the fire hardening and getting us all ready to, or getting our homes ready, and the area and all, and Sonoma County has a lot of trees, a lot of big, a lot of fire fuel, I guess. So if it's managed correctly, the safer we all are. And it's not just for yourself, but for your neighbors too, and the whole community. But so kind of moving on into that, I just wanted to kind of wrap up with any advice that you can offer as far as getting safely out and being prepared. I mean, there's the whole preparing your car, having stuff in your car that's ready to go, or a go bag. But what are some tips about just kind of getting out safely and if there is an evacuation order, or if not, just kind of things to do?
Make sure wherever you are, whatever county you are in, make sure you sign up with your law enforcement entity, your sheriff's department or whatever, or your OES entity, to make sure you receive the alerts from them, because they will be putting out the evacuation alerts.
Right. Okay.
So make sure you sign up with them. And like you said, make sure you have your go bag, so to speak, and your six P's. Have your people, your papers, your personal items, your pictures, your plastic, your prescriptions, your eyeglasses, those things, your pets.
And your pets.
All those.
It's more than 6 P's. I had never heard 6 P's. I like that. I'm going to have to, you have to.
It's one of the checklists on there, Ready for Wildfire.org.
Okay, good. Okay.
So, but
It's
definitely, any plan's better than no plan.
Yeah.
Know your area. Be thinking, if you have to go north, south, east, or west, have that meetup plan with your family members. Have those alternate plans where you might go, family members, friends that are out of the area, in case you need to leave for a little longer duration. Here, in Sonoma County, the Kincaid fire is such a case study, a success of such a large number of people that safely and calmly left an area, so the first responders could do such tremendous work in stopping the Kincaid fire.
Yeah, is that the one that came down into Windsor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So there was such it had such potential to go such a long distance past Windsor and across 101 and continue to the west. That they made
scary.
a lot of hard decisions, and the first responders were able to get in there because of those efforts and get it stopped. But it's really a testament to getting the folks heeded those warnings. A lot of folks were able to timely and calmly leave the area beforehand, and so those were just an example of those when those efforts work. So
I think a lot of people were kind of primed by the previous fires and seeing what happened.
The
It's
tubs
okay,
and the
yeah. So
glass
whereas
and,
we would have maybe said, "Oh, it'll be fine." I mean, with the Tubbs fire, we live in Northwest Santa Rosa, just south of Coffee Park. And we heard it was coming over the hill, and I'm all, there is no way this fire is going to cross 101. Don't worry about it. And my other daughter lived in Coffee Park at the time, and she's sending us pictures seeing the fire coming, and they're all, we're leaving now, and we're all, okay, we're packing up too, So I think we learned a lot from that, okay, it does, fire is a fierce force, as you know, but, heed those warnings. And getting out of your way, the firefighter's way, I think is the most important part of evacuating when we're told to. Is that your opinion too? Getting
for
us
sure.
out of there so you can get in and do your job?
Yeah, all the first responders and the second responders and all the folks that need to try to get in there and either evacuate folks that maybe don't have the means because they're medically fragile or have other problems evacuating, or equestrian things, or other disabilities. So there's so many things. There are trees down and those types of things. So it's very dynamic once the fire enters a populated area.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
For sure.
So listen to those warnings. And we're just about out of time. Is there anything you want to add that we haven't covered that you think is important to get out there?
No, just thank you so much for having me on today. Thank you for everything you guys are doing and making sure that we get out there to do those real estate inspections, so the folks know where what the status of the property is that they are selling and what they are buying, so that they can make good decisions. And we're happy to come out and do those follow-up inspections. Zone 0 is proven to be so critical. And again, thank you for having us, and we'll see you again in the future.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here and
continue the tradition
and
of
all that you do.
Yeah, and I just Joe Petersen, who's up there fighting the what's the fire up there in Southern Oregon? Sorry, he said, and I forgot. But anyway, the fire up there in Southern Oregon, it was a cram fire. He was instrumental in setting this up and getting you out here to chat with us.
He just texted me, said he's listening, and everything he said, we're doing a good job.
Oh, awesome! Thank you, Joe. So we appreciate you always coming on and educating the general public and all the home buyers and sellers. Joe's waving his arms over there. We got to go. Anyway, special thank you to Mike Wink, Division Chief, Pre-Fire, Sonoma Lake Napa Unit, CalFire. Go out there. Have a great day. Stay safe, Mike, and all that good stuff. Yeah. We'll talk to you soon. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
For the Norman Home Team, you've been listening to the Real Estate Hour.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman, the Norman Home Team on KSRO. Join them every Sunday morning at 9, covering every stage of a real estate transaction, from tips on buying and selling your home to North Bay market updates. Sonoma County real estate market knowledge from real estate professionals born and raised in the North Bay. You can reach Allison and Stephanie anytime. Call or text 707-799-3617. That's 707-799-3617. DRE license numbers 017-20334 and 022-09237. The Real Estate Hour with Allison Norman and Stephanie Norman. Sunday mornings at 9 on KSRO and KSRO.com.